Hey everybody, this is Ms. Woznick. I am the librarian at Beverly Middle School, and I'm excited that so many of you are going to be here in the fall. So I have some things to tell you about for summer reading that kids entering grade 5 at BMS need to know. So in this video, I'm going to just briefly tell you about the expectations and about the 20 books that are on the summer reading list. And then I'll have another video that goes into the expectations a little bit more, tells you what to do next, and answers some frequently asked questions. So first of all, the expectations are 1, 2, 3. 1, you read a book from the list that I'm going to go over with you now. Number 2, you do an SWBST and a drawing, and I'll tell you about that in the next video. And number 3 is you are going to read a graphic novel of your own choosing. You don't need to do any response to it, but you need to do that and write it down so that when your teacher asks about it, you can tell your teacher in the fall. Okay, so there are 20 books on this list that I'm going to go over. There are detective and mystery stories and crime stories, books about kids who are new in town, about animals, friendship, historical fiction, kids solving problems and dealing with life, and we've got some mythology and magic for you too. So these are all the covers of the books that I'm going to review now. So first up, we've got some detective and mystery stories. Magnolia Wu unfolds it all. Magnolia is resigned to a boring summer hanging around her parents' laundromat in New York City. Then she makes a new friend with Iris, who has just moved from California. And Iris notices the single socks in search of owners that Magnolia has tacked to a bulletin board in the laundromat. And together, the girls become sock detectives. They're riding the subway, they're questioning people in plant shops and pizzerias, and questioning a puzzle queen and a pancake chef, and generally having a really great summer. This is the Swifts, A Dictionary of Scoundrel. It is the first book in a series. Everyone in Shenanigans Swift's family has a name chosen from the dictionary that everyone figures they'll live up to. She's from a big, crazy family. They have a reunion coming up, and then her aunt is shoved down her stairs to her death. Shenanigans sets out to solve a mystery that involves all kinds of games and wordplay and mischief, and maybe a chance for Shenanigan to prove that she is more than just her name. Okay, so we also have some crime stories for you. This is Wrecker by Carl Hyacin, who's written a bunch of great books for kids. Most of them are set in Florida, where he lives, and this one's no exception. So Valdez Jones, the eighth, you can call him Wrecker, though, comes across a speedboat that's run aground near his home in Key West, Florida. The weird thing is, the guys on the boat don't want him to call for help. And they even offer to pay him to just forget about ever seeing them. Well, it's hard to forget about them when he keeps seeing them around town. He sees them in the marina, and he even sees them in the cemetery where he works at a part-time job. Then he gets asked to be a lookout. He'll make some pretty good money, but the whole thing seems pretty shady and probably even illegal. The Mona Lisa Vanishes is a nonfiction book about a real crime. So pretty much everybody's heard of the Mona Lisa. It's maybe the most famous painting in the world. It was created decades ago or centuries ago by Leonardo da Vinci. Well, I didn't know until recently it was actually stolen in 1911. It has been returned since. It hangs in the Louvre in Paris. But at the time, nobody knew really what happened. Was it taken by an international thieves or maybe by the up-and-coming Spanish artist Picasso? This is a book that's written like a thriller, even though it's nonfiction. It has a ton of really great illustrations in it. Okay, a couple books about kids who are new in town. This is The Wrong Way Home. Fern has always lived at the ranch. It's an off-the-grid community in upstate New York. It's run by a guy everyone calls Dr. Ben. And then one night, her mom sneaks them away, and they land on the other side of the country in California. She says that Dr. Ben is dangerous, but Fern doesn't actually believe it, at least not at first. At first, she just wants to get back to the ranch, but eventually she comes to realize that there are things and people in this outside world that she's come to love and value. And she also realizes that some things she learned at the ranch, well, some of it was maybe just not true. This is Simon Sort of Says. Simon is new in town. He's just moved to a town with a funny name, Grin and Barrett, Nebraska. Nobody in this town is allowed to have a computer, a cell phone, or even an unshielded microwave oven because of the super sensitive radio telescopes nearby. So there are, in fact, places like this in the United States where you're not allowed to have a cell phone or electronic devices. Well, a lot of kids Simon's age would hate that. But Simon is all in because it kind of lets him escape the notoriety of surviving a school shooting in his old classroom. Sometimes out of tragedy comes humor, and that is the case here, where Simon gets to know a cast of hilarious characters and situations. And when the truth comes out, he's in a better place to handle it. Okay, some animal stories. This is by Dave Eggers, These Eyes and the Impossible. Dave Eggers is a fantastic writer for adults as well as for kids. And this particular book won the Newbery Medal, which is pretty much the most prestigious medal for children's literature. So Johannes is a free dog. He lives in an urban park by the sea. His job is to be the eyes. He has to watch and report back to the park's elders, who are three ancient bison. He has friends, a seagull, a raccoon, a squirrel, and a pelican. They're his assistants, and they are observing humans and other animals to make sure that the equilibrium is kept in balance. Then a giant new building goes up. There are more humans and even a boatload of goats that arrives. So change is coming. Drastic measures are called for. This one is The Secret Language of Birds by Lynn Kelly. Nina is the girl in this story. She's a nature lover, and she has come to see that birds and other creatures often make more sense than people. She's at summer camp, and she has gone into an off-limits part of the camp where she's not really supposed to be, and she spots a couple of rare whooping cranes. If that's what they are, it's a huge discovery because these birds haven't been seen in Texas for like 100 years. So who can she trust with this news so she won't get in trouble and so the birds can be helped? Willow Dean is by Catherine Applegate, who is the author of The One and Only Ivan and a bunch of other great animal books. Otter came out recently. So in Willow Dean is not an animal or a wild creature, but she loves them. Her favorites are the rare screechers who no one else seems to love because they're so vile-tempered and stinky. But could there be a connection between their declining numbers and the disappearance of the adorable migrating hummingbirds, who you see on the cover here, that in the past brought tourists to the town of Perchance? Danny and Eric have been best friends. Oh, we're in the friendship part. Okay. Danny and Eric have been best friends since second grade in the book Hidden Truths. They both love donuts. They love comic books and camping on Cape Cod. Danny is a girl who lives and breathes baseball. She's made it onto an otherwise all-boy middle school team, so she's really psyched about that. And then her dream is dashed by a terrible accident. And Eric is worried that he might have been the cause. So this is a great story about friendship and how things can look different from each person. So it's told in alternating points of view. Telephone of the Tree is by Allison McGee. Ayla and her best friend Kiri each have their own special trees where they can find refuge. Ayla's was planted when she was born. And then something terrible happens right on their street. Kiri is gone just like that. And all Ayla wants to do is wait in her birch tree for Kiri to show up again. And one day, a mysterious old telephone appears in the tree, kind of like it's an old telephone with the big dial and the big handset. And people show up to call people, and sometimes even pets who've passed away. Ayla is definitely not going to try to call Kiri on this phone. Or is she? Couple of historical fiction books. This one has a lot of great action in it. This is Max in the House of Spies. It is book 1 of 2. Max Bretzfeld didn't want to move to London. He's been sent from his home in Germany to England on the Kindertransport. It's a program that moved Jewish children out of Germany to safety during World War II. Even though he's housed at the home of a rich lord and a war is going on, he wants to get home. He decides the best way to get back to Germany to find his parents is by convincing the British authorities to send him behind enemy lines as a spy. He's not traveling alone. He has 2 magical creatures that only Max can see. that have come along for the ride. In Lion of the Sky, there are two best friends, Raj and Iqbal. They live in India in 1947. They love flying kites. They're excited that India is about to become an independent country. And Raj is really looking forward to a huge kite festival. Then there are some people in a room thousands of miles away. They draw a line on a map and it splits their country in two. And Raj's Hindu family, Iqbal's Muslim family, are forced to make some really difficult decisions. This book is written in verse, so each page is, poetry form, and that can be a really fun way to read a book. Okay, books about kids solving problems and figuring things out. The Attack of the Black Rectangles is by Amy Sarah King. Mac is the kid in this book, and he thinks it must be a mistake when a bunch of words in a book at school are blacked out. Then he finds out what the missing words are, and he's outraged. Someone is trying to censor books and keep kids from getting the whole story. He and his friends head to the principal's office, and when she doesn't take them seriously, they go to the school board to protest. The Probability of Everything is by Sarah Everett. Kemi wants to be a scientist. She loves statistics and facts and feeling sure. And one thing she's sure about is that she has the best family ever. Now there's an asteroid that has an 87% chance of hitting Earth in just 4 days. Those aren't good odds. How do you deal with that kind of uncertainty? Kemi is determined to make a time capsule, so if she's gone, the next Earthlings would find it and know about her creative mother, her inquisitive sister, her awesome dad. She can't believe that others around her are just going about their lives like everything is okay. Couple of books about kids just dealing with life and what gets thrown at them. This is Anna Del Mar jumps in. The water feels like home to Annie. That's how much she loves swimming. But she and her dad have to keep her swim practices at the Y near their home in Texas secret from Mommy, who has her own reasons for being fearful. And then one day, Annie is so stiff and swollen that she can't get out of bed because of juvenile arthritis. Mommy forbids Annie from swimming, even though the doctors think that it will help her manage her symptoms. This is a novel written in verse that knits in Spanish words from Annie's family home in the Dominican Republic. The Year My Life Went Down the Toilet is a funny book, but a lot of important stuff is in it. Al Schneider is scared to talk about two things. Number one, her stomach hurts all the time. She doesn't know why. Number two, she's almost definitely positive she likes girls. She nearly has a huge bathroom accident in gym class, and she's diagnosed with something called Crohn's disease that affects your digestive system. Her doctor keeps trying to get her to go to a support group for kids with similar chronic illnesses, but who wants to talk about what you do in the bathroom? Well, it turns out, the bathroom club gives her a way to deal with all the bottled up stuff in her life. Okay, and last few stories I want to tell you about. These are all mythology and magic. Cameron Battle in the Hidden Kingdoms is by Jamar J. Perry. Cameron grew up reading a book with stories about a fabled African kingdom that cut itself off from the world to save its people from danger. It's his only connection to his parents, who disappeared one night 2 years ago, and his grandmother keeps the book locked away. Well, when Cameron and his best friends get their hands on it and they open the book, they're magically transported to a kingdom that's in danger. It's waiting to be saved, and it seems like Cameron is the one they've been waiting for. Does he have the courage to be the hero that they need? Okay, this is the first book in a series called Legendarios, and it's called Wrath of the Rain God. Emma and Martin are twins in this book. They're really different twins, but something they do agree on is that moving from Mexico to Chicago is a terrible idea. Their dad has landed a job as a middle school principal. They're moving more than 2,000 miles away from their home in Mexico. And to help them stay connected to their Mexican heritage, their abuela, that's their grandmother, gives them a book of Mexican legends. And then they find out that it's more than a book. It's a magical item that transports them directly into the legends. And the final one I'm going to tell you about today is Medusa, the Myth of Monsters. This is the first book in a series too. Ava has to do a report on a Greek god, and she picks Athena. but so does her classmate Owen. And her anger gets the best of her. And after her outburst, Owen has turned to stone. Now, fortunately, he does recover. Okay. But it turns out that Ava, like her mother, is descended from the Greek goddess Medusa. Ava's parents whisk her off to the Accademia del Forte, which is a mysterious international boarding school in Venice, Italy, where Ava and her brother Jax discovered that Olympian gods founded the Accademia to teach the descendants of mythological monsters how to control themselves and become like functioning, well-adjusted members of society. Is Ava going to go along with the program, or is she going to stir the pot? Okay, so those are the books that I wanted to tell you about. In the next video, I'm going to go into some more specifics about some of your logistics. So thanks for watching this one, and tune in to the next one.